Kore Mapinduka and welcome to Africa Good Morning for Tuesday, the 27th of May, 2025. I am Glenora Shipura. On today's show, African travelers face a surge in Schengen visa rejections, raising questions about fairness and access. In Uganda, the military expels Germany's ambassador over alleged subversive activities. Former Congolese President Joseph Kabila returns to Goma after losing Senate immunity. We bring you harrowing stories from Cameroon's conflict-hit regions and an urgent WFP appeal over growing hunger in the DRC, plus economic updates as the African Development Bank prepares to elect a new president. We'll bring you these and more news on Africa Good Morning.
Taking flight has never been easier. Paratus is introducing Sky-Fi internet packages with speeds that will have you reaching for your seatbelts, starting from $500 million excluding VAT per month, with speeds reaching up to 10 megabits per second. There's even a prepaid option where you can top up your Sky-Fi internet for just $15 million per gigabyte. No contracts, no fuss. Visit your nearest Paratus branch to find out more. Or go to paratus.africa/Namibia to sign up online.
Always prepared, Paratus.
Starting us off in our top stories. For many Africans, securing a Schengen visa to visit Europe has become an increasingly uphill battle. In 2024 alone, rejection rates for countries like Comoros, Guinea-Bissau, Nigeria, and Ghana ranged from 45% to over 62% for exceeding the global average of 18%. The Schengen zone processed over 11.17 million visas. We will be right back after this. We apologize for the technical difficulties experienced earlier. Still with our top stories, moving over to Uganda. The Uganda military has abruptly suspended all defense cooperation with Germany, accusing German Ambassador Matthias Kauer of engaging in subversive activities and declaring him wholly unqualified to serve in the country. The army statement lacked evidence but follows reports that Kauer criticized controversial tweets made by the army chief Gen Muhoozi Kainerugaba, President Museveni's son, at a recent meeting with EU diplomats. This included threats to behead opposition leader Bobi Wine and boast about torturing Wine's bodyguard. Germany's foreign ministry dismissed the accusations as absurd and without merit. The Ugandan military claimed it had credible intelligence implicating Kauer in activities against the state, but again offered no proof. Relations have sharply deteriorated despite the two countries enjoying trade worth over $335 million. The move underscores rising tensions in Uganda, where critics accuse the Museveni regime of authoritarianism and dynastic rule. Jen Kinerugaba responded on X, saying his issue was personal with the ambassador, not with Germany as a nation. Now, former Democratic Republic of Congo's President Joseph Kabila has resurfaced in Goma, a city under the control of M23 rebels, shortly after the Senate stripped him of his honorific immunity. His return was praised by M23's political leader, Cornelia Nangaa, who hailed it as the right choice over remaining in exile. Kabila had been abroad since 2023 and was absent during the Senate session in which 88 senators voted to lift his immunity, citing accusations that he conspired with the Rwanda-backed rebel group to destabilize the country. President Felix Tshisekedi has publicly blamed Kabila for supporting the rebels and undermining national security. The government now appears poised to pursue legal action. Kabila's presence in Goma, where the state's authority is contested, adds complexity to a region already burdened by ongoing conflict, displacement, and a humanitarian crisis. His return also raises questions about the political future of the mineral-rich East and whether Kabila intends to reassert influence. Moving over to Cameroon, in Cameroon's anglophone regions, ordinary civilians are caught in a brutal conflict between separatist fighters and government forces. For Ngabi Dora too, the pain is personal. Her husband, Johnson Mabia, a civil servant, was kidnapped and decapitated by separatists who demanded a $55,000 ransom. Like thousands of others, he was a victim of a crisis that began in 2016 when protests over marginalization of English speakers turned violent. Over 6,000 people have died with atrocities committed by both sides. Separatists have targeted civilians, banned education, and kidnapped locals, while government forces are accused of torture, extrajudicial killings, and burning villages. Civilians like John and Joe have survived torture and abduction but live in fear. Schools remain closed, children miss education, and trust in both separatists and the state has collapsed. A once peaceful region now drowns in despair, and with no effective resolution in sight, families are left to mourn, survive, and search for hope amid chaos. Now, next story, the World Food Programme, WFP, has sounded the alarm over escalating food insecurity in the eastern DR Congo, where conflict has intensified dramatically in 2024. The M23 rebel group's takeover of Goma and Bukavu has compounded a humanitarian crisis, with disease outbreaks like anthrax and mpox spreading in overcrowded, unsanitary areas. The situation has left 7.9 million people food insecure in the east, with 28 million people needing aid nationwide. Displacement and violence have slashed food production in the Grand North, while the closure of Goma's airport continues to cripple emergency supply routes. WFP is urgently appealing for $433 million to sustain operations in the DRC and support neighboring countries such as Burundi, Rwanda, Uganda, and Tanzania, warning that without additional funding, millions more could face hunger in the months ahead. That concludes our top stories. On the other side of this, we will be talking to our correspondent, Talent Gore, who will be bringing us the latest news in Zimbabwe. We now swing over to the House of Stone, speaking to our correspondent there, Talent Gore, who's giving us the state of affairs. Talent, pamukase. Pamukase. Now, getting into your first story, I understand that the teachers have down tools.
Yes, teachers have notified the government of their intention to embark on an indefinite strike starting today, citing unresolved grievances and demanding improved working conditions and a salary increment. Teachers under the Federation of Zimbabwe Educators Union are demanding a salary of 1,250 United States dollars per month. They held a meeting in Harare last week where they resolved to down tools. Teachers have been bemoaning poor working conditions and lower salaries over the years. In a letter which was dated 21 May 2025, and it was addressed to the primary and secondary education minister, the teachers said that they would pursue legal avenues to ensure the rights of their members of the union were respected. They also wrote to notify the government that starting today they will definitely be going on a strike, and they will not be teaching they would not be teaching pupils. So apparently schools opened 2 weeks ago, and teachers are already demanding that their salaries be reviewed, and also the they are working under poor working conditions, and they're also demanding that be addressed. So as of today, teachers are going to be on strike, and we don't know when they'll be going back to their classes and teaching students and pupils. But as of now, they said that starting today, May 27th, they will definitely be going on an indefinite strike until the government address their grievances.
Now, Talent, getting into your next story, SADC is pushing for the lifting, rather, of the ivory trade ban.
Yes, Southern African countries have been urged to present a united front towards the lifting of the ivory trade ban at the upcoming Convention on the International Trade in Endangered Species of Wild Fauna and Flora sites. The sites meeting is set for November, and the appeal was made at the ongoing Southern Africa Development Community Trans-Frontier Conservation Area SADC TFCA conference in Harare, where officials emphasized the need for a collective voice on the matter. Angola, Botswana, Namibia, Zambia, and Zimbabwe form the Kavango-Zambezi Trans-Frontier Conservation Area, which is the CASA TFCA, commonly referred to as the CASA block. It is home to more than 250,000 elephants, and out of the estimated 400,000 elephants worldwide, Zimbabwe boasts 84,000 elephants, which it says are more than 30,000 too many for the habitat. Zimbabwe, in particular, is pushing for the relaxation of the ban, citing its growing elephant population and significant stockpile of ivory. They also oppose one-size-fits-all policies that disregard national wildlife conservation or management successes and local community livelihood consideration. So the bloc has suggested that they present a one front at the upcoming side conference, where they want to talk about the lifting of the ban on ivory. So these countries, they're going to the site and they'll be advocating for the lifting of that ban.
Now, in your next story, I understand that it might look like there is no end in sight for the electricity crisis.
Yes. Yes, well, for Zimbabweans in particular, this has become the new normal. So, Zimbabwe right now is facing a severe energy crisis with a daily load shedding lasting up to 16 hours, whilst neighboring Zambia is cautiously optimistic about reducing its power struggles by August 2025. The Zimbabwean government has attributed the energy crisis primarily to the El Nino induced droughts, as seen in the reduced water level at Kariba Dam, a crucial source of hydroelectric power for both countries. The Zambezi River Authority Public Relations and Communication Manager Selusiwe Moyo said water allocation to Zimbabwe and Zambia remained low as a result, and as a result, their immediate focus is on rebuilding the dam's reservoir levels, which were critically depleted by droughts. Only after stabilization can the Zambezi River Authority sustainably increase water allocation to both the Kariba North and Kariba South power stations. Zambezi Revenue Authority increased Zambia's water allocation to 13.5 billion cubic meters in 2025, up from 8 billion in 2024. This development has led ZESCO Limited to project a reduction in load shedding by August 2025, but we can't say the same for Zimbabwe, and Zimbabwe is going to be experiencing even worse load shedding. As of now, we have been experiencing load shedding for up to 16 hours a day. We'll actually go to sleep without electricity. And in the morning, when we wake up, electricity will be gone. So it's quite a sad and dire situation that Zimbabweans in particular are experiencing when it comes to the electricity situation in the country.
Well, it's definitely concerning. I mean, I can't imagine 16 hours without electricity. Now, getting into your next story, pay up or pocket, Zim drivers are to buy ZBC radio license before renewing their car disc or car insurance.
Yes, a new law was signed yesterday by President Emerson Mnangagwa. For quite a long time, people have been debating, or rather, citizens have been saying that there is no need for us to buy radio licenses for our cars because we do not listen to local radio stations. But the government was saying that each and every person who has a car and who has a radio in his car should pay a radio license. But most people would deflect, they would not pay for the radio license. But since yesterday, every Zimbabwean who has a car and a radio in the car is now forced to get a radio license. You find out that when one is now renewing their insurance and their vehicle license, they are now forced to pay another fee for radio license. It's now a forced matter. You can't be given an insurance or rather a vehicle license without paying for the radio license. For Zimbabwean motorists must now fork out 92 United States dollars a year for ZBC radio license before they can renew their vehicle disc or get insurance. According to a new law that President Emerson Mnangagwa has approved, drivers will only get an exemption if they can prove that their car does not have a radio. So when you go and pay for the vehicle license, for the vehicle disc and the insurance, and if you don't want to pay for the radio license, you have to prove to the cashier that you do not have a radio in your car. Otherwise, you will not be given the vehicle disc or the insurance, or you'd even have to go to the Zimbabwe Broadcasting Corporation to get an exemption so that you prove to cashiers all across the country that you do not have a radio in your car. But other than that, Zimbabweans are now supposed to fork out 92 United States dollars United States dollars for their radio licenses in their cars, which is something citizens are saying that it is just a way to milk citizens their money. It is not necessary. Majority of the citizens do not listen to local radio stations, so it's not fair that the government has imposed such a fee on on its citizens. So we're just going to be monitoring to see today, rather, we're going to be seeing how the citizens are reacting to this new law that was signed yesterday by President Emerson Mnangagwa.
Now I'm still in conversation with Talent Gore. We are now moving over to the sports section in terms of news from Zimbabwe.
Yes, the Zimbabwe senior men's national team cricket, the Chevrons, have a lot of positives to draw despite losing the one-off test match against England by an innings and 45 runs inside 3 days at Trent Bridge in England last Saturday. The Trent Bridge Test Challenge appeared to be a mammoth task for the Chevrons, who were touring England for the first time in 22 years as they failed to cope to an unfamiliar altitude, resulting in a loss inside 3 days in the one-off encounter. England made their intentions known from the first day as they went on to post 565 runs 565 runs and declared in the first 2 days of their first innings to display their hunger to dominate the proceedings. But despite the Zimbabwean team losing to England, the team is quite positive that this was a learning curve for them and they have more to offer when it comes to cricket. They are saying that it was quite a positive experience and they are not really mad that they lost to England. But this game was their first game in 22 years. They had not played against England in 22 years. So the Zimbabwean team said that they have learned a lot during this 3-day test, and they hope that they will do better next time they will play against England. So that is all that I had on sports and in news in general coming from Zimbabwe.
All right, thank you so much, Talent Gore, for bringing us those stories from the House of Stone. And on that note, we have come to the end of the broadcast. Thank you for joining Africa Good Morning on this beautiful Tuesday morning. From me, Glenora Shipura. Until next time.